Treasurer Roberts.
Present.
And Clerk Alba, present. All 5 present, you have a quorum.
We have approval of the agenda.
So moved. Support.
Okay, at this time, we'll open it up for public comment. You have 5 minutes per person. And just state your name and what jurisdiction you're from.
Hello, can you hear me? Yes, okay. Hi, my name is Joanna Johnson. I live on 15 Mile Road here in Marshall Township and also a proud member of the Marshall Township Planning Commission. Really, I just have a few key points I want to make and we want to make, and that is that there is no doubt in my mind that the members who serve on this board, the Planning Commission, and any service to the township and the folks in the audience care about our township and our community. But I do think now's the time where communication is the key, and frankly, we need to do it often and share information. I don't think any of us have anything to hide, so therefore I don't think there's any reason why we can't share information widely. I think now's the time that the township also invests in a mass email notification system so we can push information out to the residents and to the citizens. Frankly, for those in corporate, whether it be ITC, whether it be Ford Motor Company, whether it be NextEra or Serial City, for that matter, if they're really good corporate citizens, they should be supplying all of you and all of us with information that can be pushed out to the citizens. If there's a construction permit, if there's a site plan, just share it. That's all I think everybody here is asking so that we understand the process, because I know we all care about our community. This is transformational in this township. This is a lot of acreage. There's a lot of things happening, whether you agree with it or don't agree with it. Now's the time to share information. So we just really ask that the township engage and share information. It shouldn't be difficult. We all are in public service, and it's time to just share information widely and often.
Anyone else?
From the very start, there seems to be no transparency, no notification. Certain people that are for this seem to know about all these meetings and all these meet and greet, and the rest of us, we find out word of mouth from someone else who somehow found out about it. I think you could have at least, as she says, email or something, because all of a sudden this is sprung on us. That's the way a lot of us feel. And I myself, I'm against it. This environment cannot take what is going to be coming to it. I know I'm going to be buying water because I'm not going to be drinking water on my well. And I'll tell you what, you keep raising my taxes to the point where I can't afford to live here, I'll take my house. You won't have that to tax. And I'll keep the land, so you can't have that either. But I'm not living in Michigan anymore. If this is the way it works, then I'm going elsewhere. So many of us have worked hard to get here and keep our property up. But I don't see any thank you for that. I see, oh yeah, there was a meet and greet on the 16th with Ford. Where was that publicized? I didn't see that. I saw the township meeting for the 16th and the one for the city on the 17th and then the 26th. And this one, I didn't see this at all in the advisory. This was word of mouth. So it just sounds like this is something being pulled on us, under the table payments or something. I don't know. I'm just saying what it seems like because we're not hearing about it ahead of time. So, you know, all I can say is I don't have a very high regard for either the Township Board, the City Council, or the state of Michigan either. I was born in Michigan. I have been a Marshall area resident all my life. but I don't think that's going to continue if you keep degrading the environment the way you are. I don't know. On your heads be it.
Well, we didn't get your name.
Penny Werman, Marshall Township.
Okay, thank you.
Emily Emerson Rich, 616 Union Street, Marshall. Looking at the calendars today of both the township and the city and the county commissioners, you usually have your meetings on Mondays, and the city usually has their meetings on Tuesdays, but what I noticed is on March 20th, which is a Monday, you have meetings at the same time. So, again, it's a feeling situation, right? It feels like we're at a really important time to have information shared, and whether it was a clerical error or an accidental entry of data, it feels shady. It feels not right. So you all are usually much more open and flexible with your schedule, it seems, with having special meetings. So I'd like to request, I'm not sure what the formal process is, but I'd like to request that you look at the March 20th scheduled meeting and see if you can make that a different night, or if we can somehow confirm with the city that they're going to go up against you at the same exact time, because all of us want to go to all of the meetings, right?
Yeah.
Yes. And we can't be in two places at once. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Yeah.
Oh, no, please.
Okay. Hi, Margaret Rich, 616 Union Street, Marshall City. I know we're here today specifically for the FOIA requests, and as someone said earlier, I just found out about this meeting last night, and I did see that there was a Michigan State Supreme Court case, Rossi versus Clarkston, where it was found that some information is not protected under attorney-client privilege if it's done in service to the government. So I just want to make sure that that is taken into consideration. It's not like I'm asking anybody's astrological sign or anything of that nature. We're just, as the woman from planning said, we're very eager to find out all the information we can, just because you guys have heard, we feel like we've been lied to since the start of this. Things have been hidden, we're kept in the dark. And as Connie said, my taxes just went up, and I'm sure that they're going to be probably over 10 grand before this is done, and that's ridiculous, because nothing's happened in my town, but because all of a sudden we're bringing 3 miles of untaxed land for 15 years, now my taxes are up. You know, I mean, I would love to have a 15-year tax abatement. I mean, I can clean up all the parks or do something. But again, we know that we might just seem like we're being difficult, but we're just trying to keep the wool off our eyes and just feel like this is a more honest transaction. We get it, you know, there's some stuff maybe we don't want to know, but we kind of do. So thanks for your consideration. You guys, thanks for having this meeting, for letting us come in here.
Leave it on. Leave it on.
Well, he's going to let you go. He's going to let you go.
Okay. Hi, Jason Blanchard, City of Marshall. Thank you for meeting to be able to discuss with us the FOIA request that Glenn had asked for. He's not able to be here today, but thank you for acknowledging them, and also, hopefully providing us more transparency as to the decision why you're not going to release that information he requested, or potentially you reconsidered and have since decided to release that information. I know that there are a lot of members of my community in the city of Marshall, as well as the greater area, that cannot make it here today because it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And obviously, I did not just come from playing with my kids or working outside. I came from work. So this was something that thankfully I was able to accommodate today. But in the City of Marshall Council meeting, one of the things that was brought up was the lack of the public turning out. This is the public that could turn out the last notice at 4 p.m. in the afternoon. There's a community that wants to be engaged, that wants to have a discussion and not be dictated to or told to what the correct answer is. Convince us, participate with us. And if we don't agree with you, re-elections come up in a couple of years. Right? That's just a part of civic discourse. So we want to understand why you've reached this decision. And what we have not seen at this point, I felt, is anything that Ford has not put out themselves, or MAEDA has not put out themselves. We want to hear from you. We want to hear your thoughts. We want to hear your discussions that you've had with each other and your decisions as much as possible. And I feel that that is the intention of the FOIA request that Glenn has been putting out, and what I've seen and then the documents in the agenda today. So just ask you to consider it. But if nothing else, please be accommodating to the public when you do reschedule to make it at a time that people can come and put it all on enough platforms, whether it's social media or the township website or the Advisor or other newspapers, to allow the public to know when to show up. Because of the lack of people showing up in seats at a meeting that goes over 10 p.m. on a Tuesday night is evidence of the public not caring. That's a pretty bad argument. Thank you.
Sorry, it's a long walk. Cameron Warner, Ceresco, Michigan. I was just gonna point on what she said, but the city of the village of Clarkston went all the way to Supreme Court against Susan Bizio, where they lost. It stated that the Clarkston clarified that the documents used in public functions are applicable to FOIA regardless if they are provided by an attorney. The governing body is made up of people. It is not an artificial entity. All of the people who take part in the governing body decisions are subject to FOIA. Thank you.
Anyone else?
I'd like to say something.
He had his name, or he was first. No, that's you, okay?
Nope, that's fine.
Well, if she wants to go first, I'll go after her.
Oh, come on up, because I'll be super quick. By the time you get there, I'll be done. Hi, my name's Jean Rich, and I'm actually from Kalamazoo, Michigan. I came all the way from Kalamazoo County for this. I've been following it along in the news, have been watching all of this, have been aware of it from the beginning. My concerns are, one, the fact that Virginia didn't want it. Why do you? Number two, my sister and I, not the one here, but the other one in Massachusetts, was thinking of coming here and purchasing a home. She's been at her job almost 40 years. She's planned on spending quite a bit of money. Now she's thinking she doesn't even want to come to your town or your village. A lot of people, you're getting a lot of bad rep about this, and I love this village. I talked to my sisters about coming here myself and moving here, retiring myself from my job. I've been looking into it, but just this is pretty bad press. So just think about that. And think about all the people that are looking. I love coming here. I've been to a lot of your festivals, your downtown things. It's beautiful. You have a beautiful area, a beautiful historical town, village, and great people. Everyone that I've met so far has been so welcoming. So just think about that, because you've got a lot of us watching that are not even from here, coming here to kind of see what's going to happen. So just take that into consideration as well, okay? And thank you for your time, and thank you for letting me speak. Thank you.
Barry Wayne Adams over in Marshall. I am Barry Wayne Adams over in Marshall. I am in full agreement with the vast majority of the voices speaking to you. There are very questionable aspects of the process that went on, and you're acting as agency for the people in the creation of contracts where the public is entitled to full disclosure. Again, where there is a duty to disclose, silence can be equated with fraud, and that's United States versus Pruden. And United States versus Throckmorton, fraud vitiates all contracts. In other words, negates and nullifies all contracts. So the failure to disclose, which is the Latin principle of suppressio veri, the failure to provide the truth, is equally an element of fraud as the suggestion of falsehood. And I'm sure the people here would be happy to understand that in spite of what's gone on between you and the other parties, the people here still have the right to referendum for everything that you've done. And it's a constitutional right, Article 2, Section 9 of the Michigan Constitution. And I encourage my neighbors over in Marshall Township to start up that engine and get the referendum going. It's pretty much spelled out. If you want a more delineated enumeration, go over to the Marshall City Charter. It actually spells out the manner and procedure of doing it. On the other aspect, you see the hurt that you're causing these people, and what you're going to be doing to that land. It can't happen. I'm tired of running away from people destroying the land, and I'm not going to allow it to happen. I'll do everything I can to stop it from happening. Thank you.
Sorry. My name is Wainwright. I live in Marshall Township. And I just want to echo along with everybody else that it's really difficult when you have to constantly hunt and search for information. I know that last week, on February 22nd, that Ford went before the House Appropriations Committee, where they talk more about what their plans are. And I feel like that was more of a conversation than I'd actually heard from here. But again, that stuff is not really announced to us. And it took legislatures, people in the House, elected people, to have to push and point and ask questions about who's paying for what. And I think that was the closest I've ever seen. I mean, basically, the Marshall City Manager Derek Perry presented and said that yes, while the funding that they're requesting before the state and petitioning, it is going to pay for the initial infrastructure. He said that the city of Marshall and the Marshall people are going to be taking the brunt of those taxes to be able to do ongoing payment. And again, those are things that aren't clear to us, but it wasn't something that was out in front that I think that the city of Marshall and Marshall Township could do a better job at letting us know what exactly are we getting into. Now, these things have not been decided by the House. The House did not vote on these things. And they have been presented that the city of Marshall, the residents are very much for this. So it is my encouragement that I would consider talking to representatives in both the House Appropriations Committee and the Senate Appropriations Committee to let them know what really is happening in these meetings and how people actually do feel about this. Because our voices, again, are not being heard. And so, again, I just want to echo, I think that it would go a long way if there was more transparency. And I hope that you would consider that. Thank you.
Carly Withy, Marengo Township. I know that the meeting here today is about the FOIA requests, but I just wanted to go on the record again as saying, as you guys go forward on making decisions on future land transfers or any other property things that are gonna end up falling over to the city of Marshall, I'd really like you to remember that Marengo Township, Ceresco, Fredonia Township, there have been people from the whole area who have come and spoke to this issue, who have concerns, who are really worried. So I just ask that as you guys are going forward and making decisions, to please keep in mind that this doesn't simply impact Marshall Township or the city of Marshall. All of our kids who go to the schools around here, that funnels into Marshall High School, and we don't have a vote on the school board there. We don't have a vote in the city of Marshall because we live in these surrounding townships, because we love living in the country. We love being around farmland, things like that. So going forward, and just bear that in mind, that this impacts the whole surrounding area, all of the surrounding townships, all of the surrounding farms, and yeah, so it impacts a lot more people than just the two areas being discussed. Thank you.
Hello, I am Debbie Benner. Can you hear me from Fredonia Township? And I agree with you 100%. And the fact that I just found out about this meeting at noon today. So it is what it is. You know, you're trying to find out. You have to tell other people, please let me know if you hear anything, because there's no way for us to find out otherwise. I live 3 miles. As the wind blows, which is a very big concern for me, as the wind blows 3 miles from where this is going in. And I have reservations about it, because no matter how many protections they put in to avoid spills and whatnot, it's gonna happen. It's called human error. And my well is at risk, and everybody else's well is at risk. We have wells. We don't have city water that cleans it up. We don't have any way to do that. So where does that put us? Can we even take a shower, and will we get it on our skin? You know, I don't know. And that's if something happens. Well, it's bound to, because we are humans, and we all know that. We all know that there is going to be accidents that happen. And how long? Because we had that chemist that came to the last meeting that told us that is gonna seep right into the river. It's gonna seep right through to our wells. We have concerns. We have huge concerns, and nobody seems to want to address them. We also know that it's not even a for sure thing, and we're paying tax dollar money to put all this stuff in here, and it may not even happen. I hope it doesn't. I'm not opposed to progress. I don't want those chemicals in my water. There are other places that could come in that are not going to be that close to the Kalamazoo River, or that they won't put poisons into that river. That scares me, and it should scare everybody a lot. So I just wanted to make sure that you knew that we don't, and we don't know what's going on, because nobody seems to think we deserve to know. That's what it is. It's not even about, it feels like we're just, you don't just, we'll take care of you. No, we don't want you to just take care of us. We want to know what's going on. We want to take care of us. I am 60 years old. I can take care of myself. I want to know what's going on in my community. Please, please don't hush this all up. It looks underhanded.
Go ahead, give it on. Go ahead, just give it on.
Connie Bozzard, Marshall Township. Just a couple thoughts. Besides the possibility of that type of accident, there could also be an Ohio-type accident with the rail system, and that is very concerning to me. Also, I found it interesting at the last meeting that there was no discussion whatsoever from your panel on before you went to a vote. I just don't understand that, why there wasn't at least a discussion about all of the facts that were brought before you by very intelligent people and concerned citizens. So I ask that you please consider doing that in the future. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Gretchen Esser, Marshall City Village. Again, to reiterate what everyone else has already said, one, I don't feel like it seems like things are being withheld from us. I'm pretty sure they are. I think by the fact that you all won't even look at us when we're talking to you, I don't know that you're even taking notes or what you're doing, but you know, we're supposed to address you. It'd be nice to have the courtesy of you guys looking at us when we address you. Again, she's 60 years old, I'm 39. I'm big enough to take care of myself as well. I live in town, I have city water. I don't know that there's been any consideration about what we want or what we care about as taxpayers here, as residents here, the surrounding areas. I'm not from here, I've spoken in a couple meetings now. My husband and I are lucky we can leave if we want to. He has a good enough job, he works for the railroad in Battle Creek. We've already been looking, we know what comes through these rail lines, so I have no qualms. I would never want to live near the rail line, especially with what they're gonna be bringing through here now. Another concern, China. Why would we wanna deal with any faction of them that we don't have to? Lithium batteries, lithium, how is it mined? Not in an earth-friendly, eco-friendly, child-friendly way. But here we are welcoming them to bring in their lithium batteries, and we all know, we've all heard the implications of those. We've had very intelligent people speak on this, and we know what the implications of them are, yet we still don't seem to care. So I don't know what's been done behind the scenes, what considerations have been taken or not taken, but it is extremely dangerous when you have China right now saying they will back Russia to invade Ukraine. What does that mean for us? It's not just a made-up thing, it's happening right now. I have a son who is not old enough to be drafted yet, but it's possible in the next couple of years. He's 16 and a half years old. I don't really look forward to that. My grandpa was not the same when he came back from World War II and the Korean War. Wouldn't talk about the wars. And I'm only 39, so I haven't had to deal with that. But this is a serious thing. And it doesn't seem like, for all the people who have been able to make it here at last notice, that any transparency is going on with us. I will gladly take my taxes and move them elsewhere to a town that cares at least about what the constituents think, and let them have a vote and let them have a say. These aren't just, I mean, there are other people who have felt like they were forced out. Maybe legally they weren't forced out, but they've been made to feel like they had no other option. There are other people who don't want to move, who are being made to feel like, what happens? Am I gonna be allowed to stay? We don't wanna move. This whole thing stinks. All these last minute meetings, all this crap, it just really stinks. And it's not as bad as it's gonna stink out there when that factory gets built. Thank you.
Anyone else?
I'm Lee Rothwell, and I live in Marshall Township. I'm really concerned about the appearance of the lack of transparency. Everything is such a secret. Nobody can talk. Even if they're dealing with it, nobody can talk.
why can't we have a referendum on this? And if Marshall Township says, yes, bring it in. If the people vote that way, then bring it in. But if we vote against it, keep it away from us. A referendum would be wonderful. The lack of transparency is just disgusting. And it just makes me sad. We've moved out into the country. You know, we didn't want all the factories, and we had that opportunity. We could have chosen anywhere to move. We chose here. And I don't know where the board got the idea that the residents would be interested in this. We're not. My taxes are going up, and the board is going to get 15 years free, but I'm going to pay more. And my property value is not going up. People don't want to move in next to a factory or a half a mile from the factory. My property value is not going up. So why are my taxes going up? To pay for this mess. I really don't appreciate it. I just wish you'd have a referendum, listen to the people, and do what the people want. Thank you.
Justin Kazmar, Marengo Township. I know I am in Marengo Township, but this affects us all. I still travel these roads every day. I still love the area that I grew up in, you know. Marshall's not very big, so you could be on the other side of town, but the opposite side of the town from where you grew up is still where you grew up. You know, it doesn't seem like honesty was a thought in the process by which this whole thing happened. And I think, you know, this information that's being requested as far as this FOIA stuff should not be that big of a deal to release, if it's even available, if it's even, apparently it exists, but you know, that's the only reason I can see that you wouldn't want to release it, is if you just simply didn't have it. So, you know, I would, with everything that's gone on, with as much faith as you've lost from your voters, I would think that you would want to do as much as possible to try to regain some of that. So, you know, like I said, I'm not a voter of yours, but as a community member, I am in favor of releasing this FOIA information.
Joan Chapman, Marshall Township. My address is 14893 C Drive North. We are the only, as far as I know, residents of C Drive North who have not signed the option. The first time we were approached with a contract by said lawyer, we asked questions, and actually he came and talked to me alone at night, which I thought was kind of weird. My husband worked second shift, and I just told him, I'm not signing anything without talking to my boss, which is my husband. And something felt very weird about that contract. And that contract is in my seat, if you want to see it. Because I don't have a non-disclosure like everyone sitting here and everyone out there. Please do not believe the people that signed all want to move on C Drive, because they felt they did, because we're told things like, your property's not going to be worth anything, and I was told they're rerouting Michigan Avenue right in your front yard. You're not gonna have, first it was, you're gonna have a cul-de-sac. Then it's like, no. When I said I liked that idea, they said, no. We're gonna, and you're gonna have a train yard in your front yard. And you're gonna have this, and you're gonna, and this. And you know what? I don't really scare that easy. And I don't sign contracts where I don't have information. And we did not have enough information. And when I said to said lawyer, you all know who I'm talking about. I said, something here seems like someone is withholding information or lying. And I got no answer. And township people, I don't have anything personally against you because honestly, I don't think you have any power. And I think that the people need to know why you don't. And Mr. Bozzer, thank you so much. You're a good man.
Anyone else? No, now's your time. All right, we're going to close the public comment at this time and go on to our pending business. Number one is an appeal made by Glenn Kowalski concerning the FOIA coordinator's denial of a copy of the letter from the township attorney. Can you hear me? Okay. I'm sorry. The township attorney, that there is no conflict of interest as
It's not turned on, Dave.
It's not coming out of the speaker.
Will the cord reach?
I thought you just pressed the button.
It was working.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right, I'll start over again. Appeal made by Glenn Kowalski concerning the FOIA coordinator's denial of a copy of the letter from the township attorney that there is no conflict of interest as it pertains to Richard Lindsey serving on the planning commission and voting on the master plan. The FOIA coordinator denied the request, stating that communications between the township and township attorney are exempt from disclosure under MCL 15.243G.
We did receive a communication from Mr. Kowalski and specifically asked that we read it, but since he was not able to be here, he wanted to, well, I'll just read it. As I will be unable to attend this meeting tonight due to a previous commitment that I cannot change, I would ask that this email be attached to the public comment record for the meeting. Then under pending business, he just recited everything Dave just read. I continue to argue that this type of information is important for the public to have as a means of evaluating any conflict of interest ourselves. There may be a legal definition and an ethical definition, and it is important we are able to view the legal for comparison. Since Marshall Township residents paid for this legal opinion, it seems only right that it be shared with them. And then on the second request, he states, in light of strong support against the Megasite development, as well as its enormous increase in the recently updated Master Plan and MAEDA/MEDC expanded land purchases, it seems only correct that the legal opinions on this matter be shared with Marshall Township residents who paid for this work. Further, the denial of such public records continues to erode the confidence in our local government in addition to the county and state governments. Please make these documents available to me as requested. Glenn Kowalski, Marshall Township. I just want to state that both of these appeals are appeals requesting communications between the township and the township attorney, which are exempt from disclosure under the law. And of course, we have a responsibility not only to our residents, but also to follow the law. And therefore, I did not have it within my authority as the Freedom of Information Act coordinator to release these documents. There is a process that our attorney advises us by which the board could waive its right to the client attorney confidentiality, but in doing so, it would be setting a precedent for future communications between the township and the township attorney, and in her opinion would not be advisable. So basically, that's where I think we are with regard to that. The board has, under the law, the authority to uphold the denial as authorized by statute, or it can reverse the denial and direct the release of whatever communications there are, or it can uphold it and order the release of specific documents. But again, they would all fall under that general communication between the township and the township attorney, which is ordinarily exempt and historically has been exempt, is how we've treated it. I do want to state that a couple of points that were made during citizen comment time with regard to the scheduling of the meeting. This meeting was scheduled, of course, at our last regular meeting. It was the last item on our agenda because it was added. And the reason we had to do that is because we had a time limitation under statute in which to hold this meeting and to issue an opinion. We also had to obviously schedule to accommodate assurance that there would be a quorum of the board present in order to make that meeting. We did post it immediately the next morning to the website and also here at the Township Hall as the law required. We attempted to place it in the advisor and were told that even though usually if you submit something on Tuesday, you can get it published, but they said the paper was full and they could not accommodate it. Well, that's what the truth is, and if you want to know the facts, those are the facts. I mean, that's the first time on a Tuesday I've ever been told that. In fact, we've gotten it on Wednesday before. And I even, one time already this year for the other special meeting, I believe it was, I begged them on Thursday to publish it for the Monday, and they were able to do that. But they told me flat out they could not do it, and that's why I suspect there's no other business that's scheduled for this meeting, only the business of the two appeals which were required by law to hold within a certain period of time, and also that was stated at the regular board meeting. So we tried to do everything we could to publicize the meeting, and we do try that. That's why we put them in both the advisor and the shopper to make sure that they're here, even though we're not required actually to put it in either one. We do, but again, it wasn't our deadline, and I did want to make that clarification. We strive to do that. Are there any other questions about the Freedom of Information Act? I know Mr. Kowalski in one of his communications stated he didn't believe that the attorney-client privilege applied to townships because he felt that Section 10 of the, not Section 10, Section 13 of the Freedom of Information Act applied only to school districts, intermediate school districts, and public school academies. Our attorney stated that section 1 of item, or section 13, subsection 1, applies to all public bodies, which the township is one, and that the reference to school districts, intermediate school districts, and public school academies had to do with subsection 2 of that section, which has to do with student records, which would make sense, but that this is one of the exemptions for public bodies, and that has been upheld by courts.
Is there anybody else want to say anything? So the danger of us releasing information is that we can set a precedent for future things.
Yes, that's basically it. The attorney is aware of, in fact, I also saw it in the newspaper, the recent Court of Appeals opinion, but at this particular juncture, she feels strongly that that does not apply in these particular instances. I do believe, however, that some of the points that were made this evening, from my own viewpoint, as a member of the board, I do believe that we should review our practices and policies overall with regard to release of information. We've always strived to provide the information. In fact, we've provided quite a bit of information to Mr. Kowalski and others with regard to the Public Act 425 agreements in the past, the master agreements, all of that information we have released. We're doing research on another request of his with regard to the history of the zoning of the properties involved. That's requiring an extensive search of our historical records, and we're doing that. And we certainly want to make that information, which we can, available. And there may be, with regard to the Court of Appeals, there may be, when the law settles on that, the ability to share further information, even if it does come from our attorney. But at this particular point, our attorney does advise that they believe that the specific records that have been requested should be held as attorney-client privilege.
May I ask a question? Is that allowed? Would you be willing to answer it?
Normally it's not.
Normally it's not, but I'll let you ask a question.
My question is, the attorney's worried about a precedent that it would set. Well, wouldn't you have to, as a board, approve it every time that a appeal was made? So maybe it would set a precedent, but you would still have to approve of every single instance.
I think that's a good point. We would have to waive it unless we had if we were to adopt, for example, a general waiver policy, which would then obviate the need for that. But if we did do it on a document by document basis, the precedence would be that if we voted not to release something, it would be then, if it was taken to court, then all the person would have to do is cite that we've made exceptions in the past, and that is what a precedent becomes. not always is setting a precedent bad. I want to make that perfectly clear, and that's why I think that for the future, we need to review this whole area as a board with our attorney to get a better handle on what things could be done, could be revealed. There are aspects, for example, of the conflict of interest situations where just as a board member, I feel, what's the harm in releasing that? But oftentimes, in determining whether or not a conflict of interest might occur, the attorney might ask for information that is personal to the individual, and if they recuse themselves, then releasing that information might be harmful to them. For what purpose if they've recused themselves on the matter? So there's just a lot of complicated considerations that the board has to take into account when we even look at the policy. But I think that's where we would start. I don't know if that's helpful, but.
All right, Mr. Parliamentarian, are we doing one and two separately?
They can, I'm told by the attorney that since both requests deal with attorney-client privilege items, that they can be dealt with in one.
Can I propose a question quick?
Setting a precedent.
And that's a precedent for the meeting at least.
All right.
I'll propose the question. You don't necessarily have to answer it, but it would be nice. The attorney that's involved in the attorney-client privilege is the same attorney that's being asked for the communications from the FOIA agreement, and I feel as though there is a conflict of interest there.
No, they're not the same.
Okay.
No.
Could I just ask one real simple, quick question before
I
we
guess
move
I
on?
started something here.
No, isn't this a really important issue that we should be able to know more? I'm not asking about some of the other things that maybe have been done or will be done, but this one issue is so important to all of us. I mean, you don't want you want an increase in population. You're forcing a lot of people to leave. And this is such an important issue that I feel that we do need more information, if it please the board.
Okay. We're at this point, we're not going to take any more questions.
All right, thank you.
You don't want to answer it, do you?
I make a motion that we vote on the two appeals.
Okay.
You have to modify that to uphold the denial or. Okay, and my.
Right, we have to.
Couldn't hear. You gotta have an approval or deny.
I couldn't hear Bob.
I'll make a motion that we deny both of Mr. Kowalski's appeals for the FOIA information.
I'll support.
Okay, it's been moved and supported that we deny the two appeals for FOIA information.
Just to clarify, we would also need to make several findings that would seem obvious, but would nevertheless need to be in our record. So I would like to suggest that motion be prefaced by following findings. That first of all, the FOIA coordinator, who is me, denied the request for documents based on the provisions of MCLA 15.243 small g, which provides for exemption of information or records subject to the attorney-client privilege. That, number two, that the requester filed an appeal in writing with the head of the public body, which is the Township Board, with the reasons, and is required to do that, stating reasons that the denial was an error and should be reversed. The appeals were addressed to the supervisor, but did not set forth reasons that the denial was an error and should be reversed. Number three, that the Marshall Township Board and Planning Commission are public bodies as defined by the Freedom of Information Act, that the term public records are as defined by the Freedom of Information Act, and contrary to the assertion in the original request by the requester, Section 13 of the Act, specifically subsection 1, which lists all the exemptions, applies to all public bodies, including the township, that the requests are for attorney-client privilege documents of the public body, that the reference to school districts in the section heading relates to subsection 2, that the denial of the township's attorney-client privilege documents is an authorized action under the Freedom of Information Act, and that the denial made by the FOIA coordinator was proper. And then the board would determine, in keeping with past practice, the board will not release the attorney-client privilege on the requested documents and will therefore maintain the confidentiality of attorney-client privilege communications, thus upholding the denials. So I would like to suggest that as a friendly amendment to your motion.
And I would agree to make that as an amendment to the motion.
Also with the change, or the addition.
Okay. So at this time, we'll have a roll call vote.
Trustee Walsh?
Yes.
Trustee Ling?
Yes.
Supervisor Bozzard?
Yes.
I'll vote yes. Treasurer Roberts?
Yes.
5 yes.
All right, now we'll go on to new business, such matters as may comply with Rule 2.2.
And there are none because we approved the agenda. There are none. There it goes again. There are none, as the board did not approve adding anything else in the agenda.
Okay, is there any board member comments?
I'd like to address one comment that was made during the public comment in regard to when the township and the city's meetings are scheduled. They're scheduled at the first of the year. We've set out a schedule. Likewise, the city has done the same thing. The reason the last meeting was not, they were both on the same date, is because it was President's Day and the city moved their meeting from Monday night to Tuesday night.
What's that got to do with?
For as long as I've been on the township board, it's just worked out that both the city and the township have their meetings on the third Monday of the month. So that is why last month, or the 20th, ours was on Monday, theirs was on Tuesday.
What about the 16th, January 16th?
Same.
Is there any other board member comments? I guess we're adjourned. The next regular meeting is currently scheduled for March 20th at 7 p.m.
Morning.